After waking up, he prepares himself without saying a word, as if any sound could break the fragile balance he tries to maintain. Each piece of equipment is put on with almost ritualistic care, as if everything, the armor, the weapons, the spiritual artifacts, had been guided by a higher will up to that moment. As he arranges everything on the spiritual cloth, he feels a silent weight. It is not only the responsibility of the approaching mission, but the awareness that there may be no return. When he leaves the infirmary, his body responds well, but his mind remains too alert, unable to relax. On the second floor of the Tower of Babel, he and Lafia walk side by side up the long stone staircase. The absence of elevators makes the journey slower, almost painful. The wide, high space amplifies the sound of their footsteps, which echo uncomfortably, as if denouncing every unspoken thought. The silence between the two is not comfortable. It is dense, laden with memories too recent to be ignored. The march of death on the 60th floor hangs over them like a persistent shadow, turning each step into a reminder of failures, losses, and choices that still hurt. Feeling that this suffocating atmosphere could become an even greater obstacle when they need to fight together, he tries to react. His heart races, his mind becomes muddled, and the impulse to push away the tension speaks louder than common sense. Recalling, in a distorted way, the master's lessons about trivial conversations and forced smiles, he chooses a simple, almost childish compliment, believing that any spark of normality could lighten the mood. The words come out crooked, laden with nervousness, and the smile that accompanies the phrase doesn't convince even himself. Lafia's response is immediate and merciless. The look she gives him contains neither surprise nor patience, only a cold contempt that pierces him effortlessly. Her words, harsh and direct, leave no room for excuses. At that moment, flirting, or even trying to appear light-hearted, is an affront to the gravity of the situation and the goal they share. The emotional impact is brutal, deeper than any wound suffered in battle. He feels his body seize up, as if he had taken an invisible blow to the chest, while shame and regret mingle. Unable to respond, he remains still for a moment, swallowing the silent pain of his own inadequacy. Lafia, without looking back, continues down the stairs, carrying with her not only the leadership of that step forward, but also the weight of a moment he will never forget. The echo of her footsteps fades, and the silence returns, now even heavier, marked by the certainty that some words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. He remains motionless for a few moments, feeling the pain of the words deeper than any attack. Still, he apologizes, not out of exasperation, but because he recognizes that he was the one who made the atmosphere heavy and forced an artificial attempt at lightness. Lafia slows down, admits that she wouldn't know how to react either, and asks him not to do things he is not prepared for. In this brief dialogue, he perceives her maturity, far greater than he had imagined. The conversation changes tone when Lafia asks, directly, if he despises her for abandoning A's and the others. The question reveals a long-held burden, guilt, regret, and the fear of judgment. Standing on different levels of the stairs, they exchange meaningful glances. Surprised, he responds unexpectedly, suggesting that perhaps she herself wished to be despised, as if seeking punishment. In explaining, he compares the two to a mirror. Both make mistakes, both feel small when they receive understanding instead of condemnation. He acknowledges his own failures with those he loves and admits that, despite this, the desire to protect them only grows. Descending a few more steps, he firmly states that it is not fair to blame Lafia. She and the others return to the dungeon of their own free will, determined to face hell again to save their companions. This return, made out of loyalty and conviction, deserves respect, not contempt. In declaring that he cannot despise her, he speaks with the raw honesty of someone still immature, but sincere. The tension dissipates when Lafia accepts these words, abandons her complaints, and asks, with a genuine smile, that he lend her his strength. At that moment, the doubts that gnawed at him disappear. The cold of the night envelopes everything around, a cold that does not threaten the strengthened body of an experienced adventurer, but that still seeps into the skin like an omen. The silence weighs on the ears, and the heart beats strongly, announcing the fragile calm that precedes the storm. It is the last moment of quiet before the start of the rescue operation. On the first floor of the Tower of Babel, under the pale moonlight that floods the unlit hall, Rio appears before them. Fully equipped, with her sword and blades at the ready, she confirms that he is ready to depart. Despite the overwhelming tension, his body responds well, his mind is clear, and the forced rest has served its purpose. Still, An unease persists as he notices the small number of participants gathered for the mission. This concern mingles with the sound of raised voices. Alan, the Powlum brothers, and other adventurers exchange harsh provocations, insults, and threats, creating an almost absurd contrast with the gravity of the moment. Amidst barbs, rivalries, and irony, the group gathers, making it clear that, despite their differences and conflicts, they are all there with the same objective. In the midst of the confusion, a warning emerges that if they continue like this, Sear's disappointment will be inevitable. The aggressive playfulness doesn't eliminate the tension, but it reveals something essential. Even surrounded by uncertainties, resentments, and explosive personalities, they are ready to advance together towards the dungeon, aware that what awaits them may be even more cruel than the silence of that night.